right, it's 1:05. I'm going to get started now because we do have a very exciting group to share with us today. But I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But with that, I will welcome all of you who have been here before. Thank you for coming back. And all of you who are new to this space. Unlock Higher Education is a space, a platform, a community of individuals that are like-minded in the furthering of education and access to education for individuals who have been incarcerated, or individuals who are currently incarcerated. So people who have been impacted by the legal justice system. And so we come to community to discuss the best practices in our own space, in our own community, and our best practices nationwide so that we can learn from each other, uplift each other, because we know this is very hard work. And there's a lot of work to do. So we feel that this is a space of collaboration. And if you're in that mindset, then you're in the right space. And with that, we will break into some what are they called? Breakout rooms. Okay, so we'll get into a breakout room so that we can get to know a little bit more about the work that you're doing, and then we'll come back and share a couple of those who have learned of the great work that is being done nationwide. Because one of the things that I do love about this is that we come together from all spaces, all places, and our great nation. So I am glad that we can share this one particular space for us to learn for best practices. So if you are ready, Mickey, we can get started with the breakout rooms, and you'll share your name, where are you coming from, and what brings you the work that brings you to this platform.
1 second, it's coming. You should see him in a second.
Yes. Thank you, Mickey, for everything you do. I would not be able to do stuff like this, that tech side. I am so grateful to have you in this space, and because we do most of our work today in virtual mode. But that gives us opportunity to really expand nationwide. So there's a pros and cons, because there's nothing like that physical contact, but there's also opportunities that are opened up when we work in this virtual space. Are you sure that was 5 minutes? Because I was like still talking. It was cut short.
We normally take 10 minutes, but there was 5 minutes in the agenda, so that's why it felt shorter.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we really give ourselves 5 minutes. We just take longer usually. That's why we're like so used to it. But we appreciate you keeping us in track, Mickey. But with that, I'll open up the floor to those who didn't get to finish and want to share the great, information that they received in breakout rooms. Any takers? Let's see.
Well, I'm happy to share that we were all talking about and sharing frustration over the need for more technology inside facilities and how frustrating it is, and how there's lots of free resources available. And even then, the deep, deep paranoia of facilities like just blocks that access. Because it's as if they I don't know, did they believe the Matrix? Like that people are, they're going to climb out through the wires. I don't know. It's absolutely appalling. We've been frustrated because we have JSTOR wanting to give us free library research, and the facility for years now has just not taken it. And what else do you want? What else do you want? It's really, really high quality product that is free, and no, you don't want it. Okay, so I really don't know what to say about that, except that it's nothing but laziness or paranoia. Those are the only options. So I'm sorry to have a therapy session, but we were sort of having a mini therapy session together, and it was a pleasure to meet my colleagues from around the country.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Michelle. It's so hard to get that digital component inside the institutions. And unfortunately, I mean, that's become part of our daily existence. We can't survive without having some type of technological education, number one, skill set, and number two, access. And so when they are limited to a point where like you have to go back to the dark ages and figure out how to use a typewriter. You know, you're confronted with today's reality and society that you're gonna be like so far behind. It's hard for you to get caught up. 6 months of no use of technology is going to leave you behind in what's going on in today's, you know, digital world. So imagine people who have been there for years. It's hard. And so I think it's something that should be already done from the inside so they're prepared to function in, you know, as soon as they exit. Because even just resumes, even applications for their IDs and all of that information is done via, you know, some kind of digital access.
Applications for higher education, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that, you know, it becomes much more mainstream in the future, particularly with, you know, the Digital Equity Act and how those things are coming about, that they will see the benefit that's always been there, but also now they'll have the incentive to provide those services inside. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
No, excuse me. I'd like to piggyback off what Michelle just mentioned about technology and carceral and education. Coincidentally, I have a lot of my colleagues on this call, and I just came back yesterday from a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, the National Alliance for Black School Educators, and gave a presentation on innovating carceral education by tutoring with generative AI, just to pique their interest because the audience was uh, uh, mainly focused and centered on K through 12 education. So this was kind of not on their radar. So, and I was also surprised when they accepted my proposal for this presentation, and pleasantly surprised and happy, but certainly excited to present my research and just to sort of tip the scale in terms of knowledge that is not known by that audience, if you will, but also trying to figure out how I can effectuate positive social change in my field. By the way, I'm Elliot Adams, and I happen to have I'm a current doctoral student at Walden University going for my higher education PhD in higher education leadership and policy, but my master's degree is in instructional technology. So I was an instructional designer in my career before I was justice involved. And so I am just like literally I don't even know, like I almost feel like I need to pinch myself. I almost feel like there's this sort of white smoke, a white cloud, and you know, just like it's just surreal to me to hear this conversation today after the conference I just came from. So I'm looking forward to networking and meeting all in the space and just tipping my hat in the conversation with regards to carceral education and technology integration.
Yes, well, welcome, Elliot, and thank you for sharing. And absolutely, I mean, again, this is what we're all about. It's a community to come together, to learn more, to bring our best practices home, because we know that not one entity can do it all, and we don't want to work in silos. We definitely want to break that. We feel that, you know, leadership is at a cooperative level, and that's where we feel that we belong. And with that, I will bring it on to our guest speakers for today. I'm so excited to introduce Jessica Snow, my partner, colleague, and great friend, and now doing some awesome work in resilience education, along with Alexis Green, who are here to joining us today to talk about the great work that they're doing in their community and as a whole, and the resources that this platform has to offer. And without further ado, I will pass it on to Jessica and Alex.
Wait 1 second, Judith. I have a problem. If you're on this meeting right now, it's about to get broken up. It says it's going to go offline in 10 minutes. So if you guys get booted, just please log on and we'll make sure everything gets set up. I apologize for that technical difficulty and we will have to puzzle that out before the next meeting. But does everyone have that? We won't be going anywhere. Give it about 60 seconds and I'll just reopen the rooms. There's just nothing I can do about it.
All right, well, this technical difficulties that we can overcome.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm going to let Alexis introduce herself first while I pull up our slides.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Alexis Green, the Program Manager for Partnerships at Resilience Education. Thank you for having me.
And I'm Jessica Snow. I'm the Program Manager of Community and Curriculum at Resilience Education, and we are so excited to see some familiar faces on this call. And we're really excited to discuss a topic very close to our heart at Resilience Education, and that is empowering pathways, but doing it with the impact of social capital. And we will be discussing a lot about resilience education today, but we're going to go through a couple of things before we get there. But just as a very brief kind of intro to who we are, at Resilience Education, we are very focused on leveraging our unique community. We've really built an incredible ecosystem of allies and those of us impacted by the system, which we'll explain more very shortly. But we seek to grow social and economic capital for currently and formerly incarcerated individuals, folks in reentry, folks with records, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we do that. I'm going to kick it over to Alexis.
Thanks, Jess. So today we want to focus on how building social capital can empower these pathways. So when we return home, there are many pathways to success. First, we must secure the necessities like our housing, transportation, meeting probation or parole requirements. And these are just the foundations aspect of it all. But we also need goals-focused pathways that push us forward, which includes higher education, entrepreneurship, short-term and sustainability employment, as well as technology certifications. And we have different aspirations. Each of these pathways presents opportunities, but accomplishing these steps forward, any of these pathways, they're not easy, especially when we try to do it alone. Next slide.
Oops.
It's okay. So very quickly, you realize that making progress isn't something you can do alone. And the truth is, we aren't made to do it alone. We thrive when we lean on others and we share each other's strength. So this is where the power of building a network comes in. Think of it like a game of chess. Different people or different pieces help us in different ways. So just like how each chess piece plays a specific role, different people in our network can support us with different challenges. Building our network means connecting with others who share our goals, who can help reach them. But there's also a difference between building your network and utilizing it effectively. And building is about finding people who will help you grow. Utilizing your network means turning to them when you need advice, direction, or support, and both are essential. The power of network is not just having, but it's using it intentionally to achieve your goals. Now pass it to Jess.
So when we think about building our network and we think about social capital, our network can be encompassing of many different people who support us emotionally, support us personally, support us in our career goals and our personal goals. Social capital is a different factor. When we think about capital, we think about where we place our worth and where we place our assets, and how those interact in relation to us. And we've heard about lots of different kinds of capital, right? There's financial capital, there's economic capital, there's recovery capital, which is a really new, interesting topic I've only heard of in the past couple of years. And then there's social capital. And so it's good to ask, what exactly is social capital? And social capital is strategically building your network with intention. social capital allows us to really think about where we want to go and who we want to be, and almost allows us to ask what kind of relationships are beneficial to me to get where I'm trying to go. Alexis outlined a number of different pathways. To be empowered in these pathways, we have to build our network in a way that we're having connection and relationship with folks who understand what our success goals are. And so we do that by creating relationships of mutual trust. Social capital can sound very self-serving, right? Because you're thinking about, oh, who has the potential to help me achieve my goals? But let's be absolutely clear that social capital cannot be created without reciprocal building of trust. And trust doesn't happen. Trust cannot be built if we are not creating relationships. And so, how do we do that with folks in our network? All of us, I'm sure, have been to conferences or events where we meet different people, we find them on LinkedIn, and we consider them a part of our network. But social capital is really looking at who is in your network, who has the potential to help you reach your goals, and then reaching out to get to know them. It takes initiative and it takes intention. And it means looking and learning to understand what motivates them, what inspires them, sharing also what motivates you and inspires you, and understanding with mutual success how you can work together to empower one another in these pathways. So we're going to talk a little bit about how social capital became a focus within resilience education.
So I would like to share a little bit about resilient education and how it began. So RE, Resilience Education, it started in an in-prison business education program in partnership with the University of Virginia. And it was bringing MBA students to teach business skills to individuals behind bars. And we knew that access to education will reduce recidivism and opportunities. But what we didn't anticipate was the change in perspective for the MBA instructors themselves. So they realized that they could make a difference and became committed to fair chance in their work.
I didn't get to do what I was supposed to. Like,
That led us to
you
grow.
got to do a better job of telling me.
Um,
Do one of our hosts have the ability
Can we-
there we go. Thank you. Sorry, Alexis. Go ahead.
We noticed that this positive impact led us to grow our program. So eventually we moved to post-release support because we noticed a significant trend. And it's when our graduates return home, they saw resilience education as a trusted source they could reach out to. They shared their challenges, some goals, and we helped connect them to the individuals in the network who could support them. Next.
One of the things that I love to share about our graduates and their experience coming inside is that so when I say graduates, I mean our MBA graduates from UVA Darden and the other business schools that we've expanded to, is that 97% of them claimed that teaching in prison was a life-changing experience for them, and 99% of them said that in their, remember, these are MBA students, future professionals from a variety of different industries and fields, that 99% of them were committed to opening doors for fair chance hiring within their industry and within their individual workplaces. They also, and as many of us are impacted on this call, they saw the vast capabilities of people in prison and wanted to be able to continue to invest in that determination and that drive that so many of them showed. I know that we have 1 minute, so I'm going to go a little bit further. So speaking to post-release, eventually with resilience education in our business program inside started in 2012. So eventually we started to see some of our students being released. And our students, as they were graduating, they would come home and they would find need for additional support. And that's where they thought of, oh, resilience education, their leaders, their teams, the instructors that we had, they opened doors for our minds. They showed intention and they cared about us in the classroom. Maybe they are safe and trusted people that we can reach out to now that we're on the outside to ask some questions and to lean on for guidance. We were discussing how we had our students coming home looking for post-release support. They saw the resilience education team as a means of trusted individuals that could help them with their goals. And I am not big on sharing the stories of others, but we do have permission to share some brief stories with you all related to a couple of students who really learned how to do this. And so I'm going to mention Robin and Allison. And these are the two particular women who came home and reached out to our executive director. They had been home for a couple of months. They had, again, those clear pathways that they wanted to follow, but they realized they needed some support and guidance. And so they reached out to Tierney. And so Robin was able to acquire a small sales role at a local company. She did so well in that role that we were able to connect her with another larger company in this space. And now she's actually a global account sales executive, really thriving and continuing to invest in students at Resilience Education. Another woman in our program, Allison, had a strong desire to investigate the tech field and wasn't sure exactly what she wanted to do yet. But through informational interviews and some connections to some orientations with different coding schools, she was connected with Justice Through Code and is now our backend developer at Resilience Education, who created our entire resilient professional community platform. And so these connections to Justice Through Code, the mentors that they were matched with along the way, were all done through the social capital of Resilience Education, who provided folks who saw the potential of Robin and Allison and wanted to invest in their success and support by providing introductions and connectivity. So as our executive director, Tierney, saw how these trusted relationships helped these two individual women, she said, we need to create a structure where we can help even more folks with the social capital network that we have built, this ecosystem through Resilience Education. We have 600 graduated MBAs now living their professional lives in dozens of industries. How can we create a community where those who have been impacted by the system can interact with these professionals, learn and grow alongside them, so that mutual goals and pathways can be met? And that was the birth of Resilience Professional Community, which I think Alexis is going to speak to next.
And from there, we created the Resilient Professional Community, which is also called the RPC. And it's a virtual platform that connects those returning from resilience education programs with MBA instructors and their networks. Now, the platform saw a huge success, and we expanded it to anyone returning from incarceration nationwide, MBA instructors who wanted to continue to making a difference, and community partners who could offer resources and support. And the RPC is a space for everyone, whether directly impacted or an ally. They can connect, build, and uplift each other. And it's a hub for individuals who want to share their power of their experience and support others on their journey. Now, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Now we'll lead to how our social capital empowers our pathways in the RPC.
Alexis did such a great job introducing who helps make up our professional community. And I do want to holler at a bunch of folks on this call who have come to join us as allies, folks who have been system impacted and have sought out to build their networks and social capitals and to learn from Resilience Education. And I'm excited for if they wanted to share later, they're more than welcome to. But the model of Resilience Education was built as such. I have this chart here to show you. And that is those who have been system impacted, and then former MBA instructors, their networks, and our community partners. So our community is growing. And it is so encouraging as a woman who has been incarcerated to see the support of those who have not been impacted, who still want to see the success of others, because we know that transforms communities. And so I wanted to share a little bit about what we combine together in our community to seek to increase economic mobility for others. So we do this by building a network. We want to see folks in community together, having relevant conversations, associating and connecting with one another through discussion, but also through events, whether those are book clubs or workshops or courses. We have some incredible mentors who are very committed to guiding and supporting those of us who have been impacted in setting goals and achieving those goals, both in a short range amount of time and long term. And I just can't say enough about our mentors and our mentees who are so driven. We also have expertise shared within our community. I mentioned our workshops earlier. We have a variety of professional development opportunities, an entire library of previous workshops and lessons and courses that we've done in the past. And just as a teaser, we have 4 new courses this spring coming to the Resilient Professional community that we could not be more excited about. So as we continue to grow, our focus remains again on helping those of us impacted by the system feel equipped for success, where we can achieve economic mobility, which we know affects our families and communities, but also creating a shared space of experiences where we're doing this together and not in isolation. A couple of other benefits that I want to make sure that I share with the community, whether you are serving those who have been impacted by the system, or you work with that community, or you are a part of that community yourself. Within the Resilient Professional community, we offer one-on-one resume assistance. Anyone in our community can say at any time, I have this job that I'm applying for. I'd really love for someone to look at my resume with me. And if you are applying for, say, a role in tech, we're going to match you with a tech professional to look at your resume, go through it one by one together, and get some really valuable feedback about your cover letter, your application, and your resume. And that's invaluable help from someone already in that field. If you have an interview that you're preparing for, we have a 2-prong option for folks in our community where you can say, I'm applying for a job at this, marketing firm, and we'll connect you with one of our marketing professionals to help you prepare for your interview. Someone with that inside experience in that field, helping to guide you through the interview process so you feel confident and equipped in that conversation. We also have an AI tool that does this, where you can practice as many times as you want, and it provides lots of great feedback on your confidence and how you introduce yourself and how many filler words and things like that we all do sometimes. A new feature to the Resilient Professional community is we actually have career counseling available now. Many of you are very familiar with if you have been gone for a long time and you come home from prison, you have some questions about where to get started, or maybe you had some ideas while you were gone about what you'd like to pursue as your career, but you're still figuring out your plan how to do that. Or maybe you're like me and you had a career before incarceration and that doesn't feel accessible to you anymore, and you're at a point of reinvention. Our career counselors can meet you exactly where you are to help explore a little bit what might be the best fit for you and then how to pursue that. One other means in our Resilient Professional community that folks are able to take advantage of, and I will mention these 3 up here are alongside our allies. So again, that social capital and community building piece. But this here is very private. Anyone in our community can submit a challenge to us, whether they need some help looking for a connection in a field to a job, whether they are asking for legal help, whether it's probation or family related, whether we have one right now where they're seeking an internship alongside their higher education degree and aren't sure where exactly to secure that. And that's where we can leverage the network to possibly help in any of these scenarios. But when a challenge is submitted, our team keeps this private, but we do rally together so that we can help find some solutions to overcome different barriers that we all run into in reentry. I mentioned our resource library already, but one other key feature I'd love to mention is our community interaction. We are a virtual platform. Everything, for the most part, happens virtually, and that allows us the accessibility to meet folks from all over the country and to include them in our community. We have a wonderful feed where people are sharing poetry and encouragement and articles and books and all kinds of different things just to spur and support the community on. And it's a great place to meet other people. So that's a lot of information. You may have some questions, but before we open up to questions, I want to make sure that I highlight a very, very special person on the call with us, and that is Mr. Nasheed Mateen, who is our community coordinator for the Resilient Professional community. Anyone who joins our community Nasheed is the very first person that they meet, and he does an incredible job of walking them through the RPC platform, helping them apply for the mentor program if that's what they want to do, getting them involved in community meetups. He is a hands-on guy and just couldn't be a nicer, welcoming face for our newer folks. So if you're interested in the chat, make sure you give Nasheed a hello, and I know that he'll be happy to talk with you as well. And we may rope him in on our Q&A here. Sorry, friend. Heads up. And we'll pause there. Does anyone have any questions for us? Hello. Do you have a question, Beth, or are you just saying hi?
Well, both.
Great.
Always hi to and good to see Jessica. So here's my question, Jess, and I know this might be unfair to ask because you haven't even been there that long yet. So, but we've talked about this in the past. Full disclosure, I'm also one of the mentors in the Resilience Education Program. Love it, and love working with everybody that I have encountered. Here's the question. It's more about data. So what kind of data does resilience education have and or are collecting in order to help kind of the larger community understand why this is so important and that these outcomes make a difference? I'm just wondering, because I'm thinking about this kind of from a funding perspective. I'm thinking about it from just simply building greater support in general in order to help move the needle through some other pathways.
Yeah, great. Great question. So we're collecting data in different ways. We keep data in regards to pathways and what people are interested in, what their goals and their challenges are that they present to us, and whether it's staying just in discussion in the community or through multiple enrollments in the mentor program, which they can repeat as many times as they need to with the different goals they have in mind, we're able to track a little more easily whose progress is moving forward in those pathways that we mentioned and the progress that they want. We're also able to track a little bit more of who in our allied community is most involved in the ways that it's easiest for them. We're actually about to do a mentorship study in conjunction with a couple of other organizations. This is in discussion with Vera and AIR at looking to see what is really working about different mentorship programs, what can be improved, what could be added to or should be added to. So I don't know if I can speak to all of the data because our two data related staff members are not on the call with us today. But if Nasheed or Alexis wanted to jump in on that at all, they're more than welcome to.
Yep, I think you covered it.
We can discuss further, but we're really trying to lean hard on the community and learning what they think is most beneficial to them as well, because we can come in and have all kinds of great ideas. But if we're showing, doing workshops that folks aren't interested in, we want to know what is the need? What do you want to learn more about? What would you love to hear from? What would help you next in your pathway? And everyone's pathway is different, which is one of both the opportunities and the challenges of the RPC, but it's one that we're always up for.
And the follow-up question to that is because there are so many great programs and projects that happen with resilience education, and I certainly don't even know a quarter of them. Is there a for lack of a better word, pathway for folks who are currently incarcerated to actually kind of move directly into that, to kind of start that process and then move directly into a more expansive process once released?
Love that question. I love that question. We really prioritize our community partners as well in this conversation, because we clearly have our business education programs, which is in 3 different states through 3 different universities. And we've really worked hard to create like a streamlined pathway for folks who are being released to be caught by community navigators and ushered into the professional community platform. It's just tricky, Beth, because as you know, when you're coming home, you've got a lot of different things to worry about securing and getting in place. And while many of us come home driven, career-wise or education-wise, there are a couple of steps that necessity-wise have to happen first. And unfortunately, that's where we sometimes lose people. They're always welcome to come back, and we do try to pursue them and stay in touch, let them know that we're always here to support. But it is tricky when certain things rise in priority, especially in those first couple months home.
Got a question. This is Meg, and it's a follow-up to Beth and also Jessica. Are you able to post information about your organization inside, let's say, federal prison? I mean, or give handouts or something? Because when we got out, there was no resources, and not only none, but we were cautioned about speaking to anyone who had been justice impacted. Because in your supervised release, it's very clear. And so for 3 years, I didn't speak to anyone at all who had been justice impacted. So I guess my question is, from a policy standpoint, I think there's work to be done on the language of what people are allowed to do. But secondly, I mean, if you mailed mailers into a federal prison, are you able to do that? Is there a green light to promote to people who are getting, or even to the case managers that are, kind of ushering them out? Just a question.
I love that question. And I understand how isolating that must have been for the person's home. So those correctional relationships are so important to be able to make. And a lot of, depending on the state, some correctional entities are still learning who we are. We feel like we have the brand capital, again, back to that capital word again, to be able to really open some strong doors to be able to do so. At a couple of recent conferences, we were also able to make some strong connections with different states' workforce boards, which do have a pipeline into the correctional facilities to pass some information along to those who will be coming out soon. But we're working on getting those into place. Our team was 4 people until about 6 months ago, and we've just doubled, which is going to allow for a much greater impact. But we're still getting some of that framework into place. But with I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but with our Community Consequences Navigator, which is a new tool that we've built to really help folks come home to know what pathways are clear and realistic, which I can share about more later. That's opening the door to a lot more relationships within corrections and with caseworkers to be able to get some of our services and awareness built inside facilities. These are great questions. And team, feel free to hop in at any point.
What's the ETA on the Collateral Consequences Navigator? Because I've been following that, and for it to get inside, because it's a great tool.
Thank you for saying that. And for those who are unfamiliar with what we're discussing, Resilience has built a tool called the Collateral Consequences Navigator, which essentially takes a state's entire penal code and has fed it into an AI backend to whom we've given the personality of being optimistic and encouraging, to where someone could come to our tool and say, I am a formerly incarcerated person who served 7 years in prison. You're able to say how long ago your conviction was. I'm interested in pursuing a role in X field. Maybe you're interested in, being a physician's assistant, or maybe you're interested in going into tech. And the tool will answer you by saying what is realistic for you to be able to do in your state. And if, as does happen sometimes, there are barriers to that process, the tool will also make you aware of those barriers, where certain caveats and individual basis opportunities might be acknowledged. And then it also provides alternatives if that pathway is not available. So you're not saying, no, the door is shut on this. It's able to say, well, maybe you can't do X, but you can do Y, Z, and A and B. Have you thought about these? It also prints off employer info, which can be a nice tool when you're walking into some of those interviews and conversations as an impacted person. And we're constantly expanding that as well. So right now the tool is written for Virginia, but it can be adapted into any other state. And we just debuted this tool in October and have had interests from several different states. So right now we're excited to be pursuing this connection for this tool in Massachusetts, among some other places as well. If anyone is interested in demoing this tool, I would love to drop you my colleague's email address, which is allison@resilienceeducation.com, which, by the way, we cannot talk about this tool without mentioning that this was helped developed by a formerly incarcerated person, a formerly incarcerated coder and developer, which is pretty dope. So. Other questions for us? I know that you all have some other pieces of your agenda I want to make sure you get to, but feel free to send us questions in the chat too.
All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I'll just get through the agenda. And thank you for this wonderful, information regarding the work that you guys are doing. I had heard it before in other places, in other communities, and this is why I wanted to make sure that you guys had this space and time here as well, because I feel, again, that the great work that is being done nationwide should be discussed so that people can take it home and really, work on implementing it, even making it better. Because what we are is about getting the best services and tools out there for those who are, in need of those. So thank you for taking the time for that presentation. And with that, I'll bring it to our subcommittee meetings, chairs. I know we don't have much going on to update you guys on today, but I do have Beth on here and I have Mickey on here. I'll also let you know what is our goal for, our next month, because there are some changes there, but I'll give you guys Beth and Mickey for any updates that are happening in your subcommittees.
You want to go first, Beth, or I'm already talking? Awesome. As always, we continue across social media and our emails reminding you of the upcoming meetings, but more than reminding you of the upcoming meetings, we take the time to feature the stories that are going around concerning unlocking higher education and the way that relates to our world. So please keep following us. Please keep being patient with us and keep working with us, because we are working 24 hours a day for you guys. And we have a lot of exciting updates that I can't even talk about yet. So with that being said, I will pass it to Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Mickey. I am Beth Koenig, and I am the co-chair for the Membership and Fundraising Committee. So I oftentimes will ask fundraising leading questions and kind of any venue that I happen to be in. So thank you, Jess and Alexis and Nasheed, for kind of bearing with me as I do that. We are always interested in getting the word out about Unlock Higher Education and inviting everybody possible into the fold. We are very much a coalition building kind of organization. So there are fantastic groups that are out there in the United States who are doing really, really wonderful things. We do try to have at least one, if not two events a year. I'm just going to take a little event side tangent here for a moment, that deal with specific public policy issues. And so we're very much interested in what our membership really feels is kind of at the forefront and what we need to be addressing. So we are membership driven. We are a coalition based organization, and we want to know what's happening in everybody's state so that we can actually start collaborating a little bit more, and then also helping to push push some initiatives forward and getting rid of hopefully some of those collateral consequences.
All right.
And if anybody has questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm just going to put my email in the chat.
And as always, I like to remind you what our advocacy is about and what we have discussed and when to legislative efforts, for, which was digital equity, the default student loan remission, pay equity, band the box, of course, and disability services and ELL support, because sometimes those are areas that are definitely in need of support and help, especially when we're going out into this era of digital access. So if you are in lines with those kind of advocacy work, please, I urge you to join us. I think that there is power in numbers. And so our voices, run stronger when we come together to discuss the need for access to these particular asks. And a couple of more updates as well. I want to remind you guys, the NCHAP conference is coming up in New Orleans next year in April. So please register for that. It's a great community to get connected, to learn of the great work that is being done in higher education. JFS Horizon Conference is also coming up in New Orleans as well. I mean, New Orleans is a place to be next year. In June. And so look into that as well. The conference, this past conference was phenomenal in the workforce development portion and even in other areas as well. So there's a whole track or pillar for justice impacted community. And they even had, both of them, I believe, had currently incarcerated individuals present and be part of these conferences. So that's a great avenue to have access for those who are so limited in resources. Then I also want to let you know that one of our partners, the Ladies of Hope Ministries, is offering some Coursera certificates. If you're interested, I will put the link on the chat. And this is, I think they have program management, several of them. I don't know which ones they are, but I know they have several of them. And please, I urge you to look into that, because they do have free certificates for learning for individuals through Coursera in a partnership with the Grow with Google Digital Skills. And finally, we have 2 more minutes. If anybody wants to share some news, information, or resources that they have from their community, this is the time to do so. I want to let you know that we are changing our monthly meeting for next month to December 16. You'll be receiving a new link, and that's because it's usually our last, year celebratory type of meeting. And so we close out our 2024 and head on to 2025 with great expectations and, hopefully even greater collaboration, so that we can have this particular Hill Day and our, legislative support well served in our new administration. So if anybody wants to share anything else, this is the time to do so. Any resources? No? Well, I hope that you guys will come back next month with some great resources. I appreciate you guys joining us. I hope that you learned a lot and that you can get some great information sending to your community. And I hope to see you guys on December 16th. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you so much.